Gentlemen, stop running away from your problems. I got into meditation, a few months ago because I was suffering from an internal strife. I'm not going to go into details about it, but it was to do with a woman. And as with a lot of things in spirituality, psychology, philosophy, all of this stuff, we tend to go towards these things when we suffer an internal problem or even an external problem. It doesn't really matter. The point is we have some sort of suffering, and the suffering brings us into awareness into what we're lacking in our lives and perhaps what we need to fix, whether it be something external or internal. So suffering, as Eckhart Tolle says, is the greatest teacher. And I agree. I think it is the greatest teacher. You don't like the suffering when it happens to you. Of course you don't. It's uncomfortable. All you want to do is get out. But then when you look back at it in retrospect, when you're out of the suffering and you sort of calmed down, you've gotten used to the pain or whatever, you haven't dealt with it, so to speak, but you're just out of the grip of it, you're not controlled by it anymore. It might still even be lingering in the background. But the thing is, you're going to be out of it to some degree, and it gives you this skill of awareness that you can now look back at retrospect at what was going on and kind of logically figure out what was actually the problem. I like to compare that to the analogy of a cold shower. When you're in a cold shower, it feels bad, it hurts. You have to just focus on your breathing, keep calm, and endure it for however long you're going to endure it. Recently my cold showers have kind of decreased in length. I used to do it for 5 to 10 minutes at the peak, but now I do it for around 3 minutes because it gives me the same effect. But just to test my own durability under pressure, I am going to do it for 10 minutes again, because I find that when the urge to leave comes onto me, that is another minute that I add on, and I just focus on my breathing, focus on staying calm, and take the pressure, take the stress, whatever it is, and just deal with it. And then when I'm out of it, I feel great. I always feel refreshed. I always feel like I'm a new man. I always feel like I've just been rejuvenated. And I find that suffering works in the exact same way. It's quite funny how it works. The suffering does the exact same thing. Now, what does this have to do with what I want to talk about today? Well, today I want to talk about, again, your problems. And running away from your problems isn't the solution. Okay, that's what I found. Because I started out meditation so that I could really look into the problems and gain a certain amount of control over it. Controlled awareness over the problems and the stresses, and in some cases the pain. And when I did that, almost always, when I'm doing the meditation, let's say I'm doing it for 15 minutes, when I open the bottle up, all the thoughts that I was running away from come out. Very painful thoughts that I don't really want to listen to, want to take into consideration or heart. And of course, what makes it even worse is then the feelings that are associated with it. The feelings are almost always very painful, negative feelings, guilt, sadness, fear, anger, these things. They're very uncomfortable emotions. Anger isn't really the most uncomfortable though, it's fear. I don't like fear. I hate the emotion of fear. It really pisses me off. It puts me on edge, and it makes me feel weak. But then I realized, the point of meditation isn't to get rid of these emotions. It's to feel them and to make them one with you, because they are a part of you. They're not something that's external to you. Fear is something that is inherently inside of you, as is guilt, as is sadness, as is all of those other emotions. And the point of meditation is to actually accept them and to go through with it. Let it be a part of you. Accept it. It's there. So I did this at the beginning stages of my meditation practice. And then what ended up happening was, as I kind of solved through those issues, sifted through them, I reached a state of peace and calamity. Is that the right word? Calamity. I'm going to use another word. Peace and serenity. And then, after a few months, weeks, days, whatever you want to call it, another incident happened. Whether it be imagined or real, it doesn't matter, because it's still real to the mind. Very real to the mind. And all I wanted to do was run away from the feeling and the thoughts, because I just didn't want to accept that that was what I was thinking and feeling. I didn't want to. Really didn't want to. I was really afraid of accepting those emotions and those feelings. And of course that led to repressing them. I repressed these emotions and I repressed these thoughts. So they were lingering, they were there, but I was sort of ignoring them. Now here's the thing with these kind of thoughts and feelings, is they are a part of your shadow. If you look into Carl Jung and his psychological philosophy, he says that human beings have a shadow, the unconscious self, and they put whatever they don't like about themselves, about the world, about anything, they put it and repress it into the unconscious self. Okay? Now, the unconscious self is the subconscious self, and it always wants to be integrated into the conscious self. So it manifests itself in behaviors which you might not even be aware of, but they're always going to be there. And then that's why a lot of people tend to sabotage themselves. You know, let's say you've got a conscious belief, I'm confident. Let's say I'm confident with women, or I'm confident in business, and so something like that. But the underlying repressed belief is, I'm not good enough, or I'm a loser, or I'm a creep, or something like that. It's an underlying belief, and it's been repressed into your unconscious self. Not necessarily true, but it's a repressed thought and feeling at the end of the day. So what happens is, whilst consciously you're thinking, I'm great, I'm confident, I'm all this, but unconsciously there's a repressed belief. That repressed belief is always going to try and come out. So it's not going to come out in the form of conscious behavior. It's going to come out in the form of subconscious behavior. You see what I mean? So when you repress certain thoughts, they go into your subconscious self and they manifest in many different behaviors, feelings, thoughts, whatever you want to call it. And that's kind of like the experience that I've recently gone through, because in the last few weeks I'm on day 33 now of NoFap, and as I've discovered, when you're on NoFap, a lot of the repressed unconscious thoughts, feelings, behaviors that you perhaps repressed when you were a compulsive, when you were addicted, a lot of those things tend to be unbottled, and they're just thrown at you. They're thrown at you and you have to deal with them. And I did a few sessions of unconscious work, shadow work, and I felt terrible. I felt absolutely terrible when I was doing it. But then when I was done, and not even immediately after, well, even immediately after, it just felt like a release. I just felt that all this tension just gone. There was a tension in my chest, a tension in my stomach, and a tension in my back. So like I couldn't stand up straight. That was really annoying. I found this morning as well. I couldn't stand up straight, and for some reason, when I took a deep breath in, it was really painful. Like there was like a clog, a blockage in my chest, and I just couldn't stand up straight and breathe. And it was really uncomfortable to stand up straight. And I've been standing up straight, like with good posture, for the last God knows how many months, but I just couldn't do it. It was like I was forcing my body to stand up straight, and it was painful at every moment. And then I realized it's because I've repressed so many thoughts over the last few days, and I haven't been dealing with them. And when I'm meditating, I'm not giving these thoughts any attention or any acknowledgement. I'm just simply seeing them, and then I'm going straight back to forcing myself to focus on the breath, or the being, or the inner body, or sounds, and I'm not actually listening to the thoughts. That doesn't mean you take them to heart and believe them. It just means I'm not listening to them, because they're thoughts that are part of your unconscious self that are coming out, and they want to be acknowledged and they want to be integrated into the conscious self. But when you repress them, they're always going to be now guiding your subconscious behavior. And I've found this in the recent days. I've been feeling a lot more needier in social situations. I've been feeling very anxious in social situations. I wasn't like this before. mean, I've always had social anxiety and stuff, but throughout this whole year, I've generally been a very confident, very assertive, very masculine man who's very sure of himself. And recently I've been plagued by this subconscious self-doubt. Really funny. This subconscious self-doubt, subconscious lack of confidence, and a subconscious neediness where I want the approval of other people, and not necessarily even women, just other men. I just want their approval, I want their validation, I want them to accept me. Now what's the underlying belief there? The underlying belief is I'm not good enough. I need the acknowledgement and acceptance and validation from other people in order to feel good about myself. There's an unconscious, repressed belief that I need other people's reactions and their quote-unquote respect. That's what I've been going through, because recently I've been feeling that the people around me just aren't respecting me as much. I don't know how much of a real belief this is. It could be real, it could be imagined, it could be whatever. I don't really care if it's real or not. The fact is, my mind is thinking this way. And my mind is now going really crazy with my behaviour because I'm acting more submissive. I found this. I'm acting more submissive in social situations, and I'm not feeling confident and I'm not feeling assertive. I don't care about the impression I'm giving to the other people. It's more like the internal feeling is really uncomfortable. So I found that this is probably due to the fact that I've been repressing a lot of these thoughts and feelings. Because before I wasn't like this. Let's say before NoFap. And not even before NoFap, but let's say even a few weeks ago I wasn't like this. I started NoFap around a month ago now. This is day 33. And it's really funny and fascinating. Because I was running away from my problems. Or real or imagined in my mind. I was running away from them. I was coming to the forest, not anymore to experience the problems and experience the issues. I was coming to the forest to get away from them and to ignore them and hopefully just make them, go away. But they don't go away. They don't go away. They stay. They stay. If they do go away temporarily, it's because you've repressed them. And when you repress them, they're still there. They're just now guiding your unconscious behavior, and it gets quite uncomfortable. So that's really fascinating. So the message here is don't run away from your problems. If you feel that there's some sort of tension or anxiety, real or imagined, I told you. Because to the mind it's real. And it will manifest as a real behavior anyway. So you've got to deal with that shit. You've got to deal with it, accept it, feel what's going on. And then the answer will just come, I find. The answer will just come through being present, being in the here and the now. And once you've dealt with what's been thrown at you, you will find a lot more peace and calamity or serenity. All right, take care, guys. Have a good one, and I'll be back with another one very soon.